Hey guys, and welcome back to a new video. I'm back with another team report, and this will be the team report on the team I've been maining throughout the basically entirely of Reg H. I've been using this Ninetales Goldango Dragonite core with Arcanine since LAIC, and today we're kind of going for the thought process of how the original team was created, how me and Shilang got to the final version, and why did I stick with it when Reg H came back? Because we had this format way last year, right? But first of all, we probably need to talk about kind of like the first iteration of this team, because me and Shilang ran a very similar six to the global challenge, the second one of last season, and this was the core of Ninetales, Annihilape, Goldango, Dragonite, Primarina, and the regular Arcanine instead of Hisui, right? So how this was actually came up was actually really funny. So she like actually recreated the six that Ubislow had here to get rank one in the cart season based off these emojis. And he translated these emojis to get these six Pokemon, which is really, really funny. And we use these six Pokemon here to get double top 16 in GC, me and Shilang. And then me and Chonjun actually used the same six that we use in the GC to top cut LIC. Chonjun losing to in top 32 and me losing in top 16. And we actually both lost to the same Eric Rios and Alex Gomez team, which was really funny. But yeah, this was a really cool take on the kind of Ninetales setup. What I really enjoyed about this team was Ninetales to have weather control gave you a really solid rain matchup without having to kind of rely on like the weather overall, right? You usually rain teams, you have like Swift Swim Mob. Like with Ninetales, you don't need to run Slush Rush or anything like that, right? It's just there to be really disruptive with that snow warning versus rain. But you also have really good support moves like Encore, like Icy Wind, and Aurora Veil, which is really nice to set up your double setup sweepers here, right? Niall and Goldango were really good in their own ways, depending on the matchup, but they can kind of easily win games on their own after a few setups. And also with all the demonstration you get from Aurora Veil, you also have Intimidate here for extra support. So that's kind of the general concept behind the team. The Dragonite we also ran at LSU was really funny. We ran Jolly Dragonites because it was good in mirrors, and also there were some key interactions where if you ever clicked Icy Wind, you would still outspeed Indeedee Male after you got a Scale Shot boost. So Icy Wind plus a Scale Shot boost meant you could outspeed Indeedee Male in Tailwind. Very niche, but it came up a few times. Primarina here was also a very, niche Pokemon. There's a lot of kind of weird Pokemon on this team, right? Like Arcanine and Primarina. You don't see these every day, right? But Prim, there's a strong fairy type. It gave you disintroduction to like King Gambit and Posing Annihilape. Also good versus Dondozo because you had Haze, which is really nice. Um, Arcanine with Mirror Herb. This is a really cool answer into Annihilate itself. I remember when I faced James Beck at LIC, I was able to copy the Annihilate Defiance and then basically kind of kill the whole team with Terra Normal speed and such. Really cool tech. But this team had some issues, right? I'm not gonna go over my whole LLC run because I kind of remember bits and pieces of it, but kind of to sum it up short, I mentioned earlier how me and John lost to the same team that Alex Gomez and Eric Rios had, and that was a relatively standard double fake out Goldango team. And in hindsight, like Goldango balance wasn't hard to break. I think that the Mungus variant was a little bit easier to deal with because we had safety goggles and Annihilate. But the issue was Gomez and Rios had Electabuzz plus Goldango and double fake out. And that was really hard to break because we had no immediate damage to kill Electabuzz. And Goldango in general with like double fake out was a lot harder to deal with just instant Among Us because it was just harder to hit. So that was the main issue. Another issue was our Goldango we ran was for some reason slower than Dragonite. Like yes, Jolly Dragonite will outspeed it normally if you're running Modest, but slower than Adamant Dragonite. So Adamant Dragonite hits 132, right? Our Goldango here hits 131. So I don't remember exactly why we did that, but there are some cases where if you ever set up and the Dragonite outspeeds you and hazes you first, because Haze Dragon I think started picking up, I don't know, it was like before or after this tournament, but anyways, it started picking up, and that was bad. So there are definitely some changes that had to be made, and we did end up dropping his team for a while testing for Toronto, and for GC number 3. This is where I ran into Jort Champ on ladder. Jort Champ is my friend Brian, and I didn't know it was him at the time, but I found out later. But anyways, I lost him on ladder pretty hard when I was testing. I think I was testing like King Gambit balance or something, just to kind of like find a team to use for Toronto. And I ran into this team on ladder. It was really interesting. With the Grassy Seagull Dango, this is not an item you see often. You usually see like leftovers or life orb, right? You know, standard Sneasler, Miracle Seed Rilla, which kind of pick up in usage. Terra Ground Dragonite, not a Terra type you see every day on Dragonite here. Cloak Tails, which is whatever, and a Hisuian Arcanine, a mon you also don't see every day. But what I really liked about this team was how much it reminded me of the LAIC team. Like I mentioned before, it is the same three Pokemon, Tails, Dragonite, and Gholdengo, but also a different Arcanine form. So basically 4 of the same Pokemon, right? And the sets in a way were uniquely built where I thought it was probably better than an LAC team. I think it had a lot more stronger Pokemon all around, like Sneasler and such, and Rillaboom. Also, really good Pokemon in this format just to have better terrain control. And like the concept of having to fit like terrain, weather, and setup felt like it beat like most things in the format. So I took this on a spin on ladder after losing to it. I started winning a lot with it. I showed it to Shilang, and for the most part, he was convinced. But I think there's some awkward things. So some main things to note is the tails here is Cover Cloak. At LIC and the GC, we ran Focus Sash, which felt really good. Ninetales is also a Pokemon with pretty bad bulk all around. And while Sneasler does appreciate Focus Sash, kind of both Pokemon want a Sash here, right? But Tails, the way it plays is it kind of wants to take a hit, especially versus like weather teams. If you ever swap a Ninetales into, let's say, Flash Cannon, Arch, call in Electric Shot, but it could Flash Cannon to cover for it, you would still live with Focus Sash. If you are Cover Cloak and you swap in and you lose Ninetales immediately, it just meant you lost the Weather War. So Focus Sash allows you to be more consistent into it. Another thing we found was that Azelphus on Arcanine wasn't very good. There wasn't many hits you're really taking with it that well. And Rillaboom as a Pokemon, while Miracle Seed is very strong, I think it really appreciates Azelphus a lot more as a mon. Another thing we didn't really enjoy was Gholdengo Mirror still felt volatile, especially if you're running Grassy Seed. Grassy Seed means you're not hitting as hard as Life Orb Timid, and because you're running Seed, I believe you want to be Moz anyways, just to take advantage of most of the bulk from Veil, Intimidate, and Seed all around, right? So you want to be like a Moz spread, which means you're underspeeding most Gholdengo. So you're really heavily reliant on Dragonite and Ninetales for speed control, but Dragonite is bad in the Gholdengo mirror for obvious reasons. You're slower than it, and Ninetales is also already weak to Gholdengo, and Icy Wind is not nearly enough sometimes because you can also get faked out on. Even with Cobra Cloak, it's still not consistent because they can just kill it or something, right? So that was some of the main issues we had with this version team, while still very strong. So going to Toronto and the GC. Well, actually, we tested on the GC first, right? Before we brought to Toronto. We brought this version. So it is pretty similar to the Jort Champ team, right? But there are some main differences. The main thing, like I mentioned earlier, was Sash and Tails. This was a comfort pick by far, similar to the LIC and GC before. But I really did enjoy Sash and how it played because it allowed me to kind of be more flexible with Ninetales and also make like more risk with it, right? And not get punished, which I really did enjoy. These 4 moves are just busted all around. Aurora Veil is so good with Gholdengo. Encore is disruptive for stopping setup for like bulk up, Sword Dance, etc. Ice Wind, reliable, Swing Control, and Blizzard is your strongest ice move, so you might as well run it, right? Arcanine, we made a few changes to it, right? One to note was we had Ghost Terror in the Global Challenge, but we didn't click that often, so it actually changed to Water for Toronto. But anyways, Arcanine, because the Azelphus wasn't coming often, we decided to run Clear Amulet, and Clear Amulet was actually good in a few different ways. It helped a lot versus Incineroar for obvious reasons. You block Intimidate, so your Rock Slides do way more damage, but a really cool tool is blocking Parting Shot. So with a combination of Clear Amulet, Arcanine, and Gholdengo, you can sit in front of Incineroar and they can't Parting Shot either Pokemon. This is really nice too, because after Intimidate and Grassy Seed as well, Gholdengo takes like no damage from Incineroar, so if they knock you off, it does like no damage. Also, you already have your item consumed from Grassy Seed, right? And then, yeah, it gets sits on the field and does nothing. So these 2 Pokemon together basically wall instant completely. and just made Incineroar a lot more easier to deal with, which is great because it's one of the top Pokemon in the format. Um, but the question is like, why Arcanine, right? Like why is this not Incineroar? Arcanine is really important to remove key threats like Volcarona. Volcarona is a really big problem for Gholdengo overall as a Pokemon, right? It also just gave just fast fire damage, right? Having a really fast attacker is really nice, especially with a team that's a little bit on the slower end, right? Like we're running like a setup Pokemon Gholdengo here, and a lot of team is setup oriented, and Arcanine is just there to just deal damage fast. It's also a really good coaching Pokemon. Like +1 Flare Blitz, +1 Rock Slide does hit quite hard, right? Yeah, so the speed tier is great for what it is. And even like actually it's not like amazing, but outspeeding things like Gholdengo and such is really good. And the things you don't outspeed naturally, um, you have Ninetales to cover for Icy Wind. You also have a Tailwind mode, right? It's also really good versus opposing Gholdengo. We have a lot of ways to kind of pin Gholdengo Terra. Kind of mention that more in the future. But yeah, you fire, hit the Steel type. If they Terra Water, you have really pin it, right? A lot of kind of good pins with this kind of team. Terra Water, it was a lot better than Terra Ghost because, I mean, blocking Fake Out was cool, but not necessarily needed. Terra Water is really nice at resisting Make It Rain. You look at his team, there's only one Make It Rain resist, which is Gholdengo. Terra Water is really good because it gave a better matchup versus Specs Gholdengo Tailwind. So you can kind of match Tailwinds with them. You can Terra Water to resist the Make It Rain and not get KO'd, for example, right? So that's pretty important. Dragonite. We kept the same Dragonite set because it was really, really good. Um, I mentioned earlier that Terra Ground is a very unorthodox Terra, but for what it does, it's really nice. For example, versus Electabuzz. Not really Electabuzz Gholdengo, or it doesn't have to be Electabuzz Gholdengo, but Electabuzz can Gambit's a big one. Being able to be immune to electric reps is really big to still keep multi-scale. +1 Terra 1, I mean +1 Terra coaching, Terra boosted from the +1, Terra Ground stomping from Dragonite does a lot of damage. You can KO some of the frail Electabuzzes. You do more damage to King Gambit, and again, you keep that multi-scale. So it's also really good versus Blood Moon Electabuzz, right? So Blood Moon Electabuzz is kind of funny because if they Electro Webs, they're faster than Dragonite, then the Blood Moon can outspeed and KO you. But now, since you're immune to E-Webs completely, you have multi-scale available, and the Blood Moon will not KO you. So that is very important. We decided with multi-scale, you can afford to just go max attack and max speed, just because you can just hit as hard as possible. And max speed is really good for Dragonite mirrors and such, and also like outspeeding things like Timid Pelipper, right? So that was kind of general idea. They did feel like this Dragonite needed bulk at all, and Terra Ground was very good for what it was. Rillaboom, another big change because the AV is no longer there. I mean, the AV is no longer on the Arcanine, it's now on the Rilla. No more Miracle Seed. The main change we made was making it Jolly with Drum Beating. Again, this might look unorthodox, but I mentioned earlier how Gholdengo mirrors were still volatile even when you had Icy Wind Tails. Just because like you still couldn't really pin it that well, and Ninetales was prone to fake out and such, right? Because we wanted Focus Sash. So with Rilla here, one, you had faster fake out versus other fake out teams, which is really nice. But the main thing is drum beating. Rillaboom, it almost always carries Wood Hammer, but drum beating is so nice for speed control. Being faster than opposing Gholdengo by 1 point is really big, right? So Rillaboom here, Max Jolly, is 1 point faster than timid Max Speed Gholdengo. This is real important because Drum Beating Shadow Ball is a guaranteed pin on all Nasty Plot Gholdengos. The most common Gholdengo Terra is Terra Water. The combination of Drum Beating and Shadow Ball will always kill opposing Gholdengo, which is very nice. Yeah, so 150, good speed tie all around. You also speed tie Max Timid Arch, which comes up sometimes. And yeah, that was the kind of general idea behind this Rilla. It's just really good at supporting the team all around, mostly the Gholdengo with Grassy Seed, and also the general speed control you needed to beat the Mirror. Because otherwise, I think the Mirror, you still got to play really well in the Mirror, but just having more tools to beat the Mirror all around, especially when you're running at Monosango, felt really good. Rillaboom was also really important for Psyspam matchups, Indeed, since they're Heart Trick Room, etc. Like I mentioned, like having terrain control and weather control allowed me to beat most matchups, and I felt like this is why the team was such a good call for Toronto and such. Sneasler here, again, a little unorthodox because you usually see a Focus Sash set on a team like this. But like I said, Tails really appreciate Focus Sash a lot. And also Sneasler, it's kind of funny, right? Sneasler takes a lot of neutral hits where Focus Sash doesn't tend to get broken unless you're taking a hit from like Earth Power or whatever, like or Earthquake. But you're usually going to get neutral hits like Sucker Punch, Glide, Fake Out, etc. Right? So your sash doesn't actually proc a lot of times. So what Shieling found was that running a really bulky sneezer was quite nice because you can take hits more, and you can also live scale shot with this one, which is really funny. So you can live a 5-hit scale shot with the Sneasler, and because we decided to run Whiteheart because focus was already taken, it allowed us to not run max speed on the Sneasler. So the general idea of the Sneasler is, well, 157, you outspeed Annihilate. And that's just pretty important, so you can either attack it first, or you can coaching before it can move, which is really nice. Again, after 100 procs, you also outspeed everything that you normally don't outspeed. So that was the general idea. Uh, the bulk was really nice. I don't think the scale shot one came often, but that one's it's really neat if it does. During my Toronto run, I lived a stellar E shot from Arch. That was really funny. Um, you can also live a lot of funny double ups like Terra Sucker Punch from King Gambit, like a +2 Terra Sucker plus like active fake out chip and such. Just because you just have so much bulk all around, and that is really nice to take better hits from King Gambit because where you're running Goldango team, you tend to be more King Gambit weak, right? So Sneasler covers that really, really well. Um, Goldango, the star of the show, saved it for last year. Again, yeah, so speed stat, we are 133 just to outspeed the Adamant Dragon Knights. Really important because, again, most Adamant D Knights run Haze. Again, we have coverage here, but Haze is usually common on D Knight just to check setup, usually for Dondozo and such, right? But it's also good for slower Goldangos, so just being able to outspeed us is really, really good, right? We ran Modest 36 because that was just a bump, I believe, or no, it was just general special attack dump. I think that was just dump in special attack after we hit the HP stat we needed. Just a good grassy number. And the main idea behind this bulk here was just a funny calcs. So with 236 HP and 4 defense, and with Grassy Seed activated and Intimidate, you always live -1 Headlong Rush from Guts Ursaluna when Flame Warp's procced, and you don't have Terra. So it's really funny in the P2 Ursa matchup if you really have to do that. So that's a general business spread. It's mostly kind of just general dump investment, but you have so much built from Aggressive Seed anyways, and Intimidate support and Aurora Veil, and realistically, this Goldango's kind of never dying. That's kind of general idea behind it. Um, so yeah, we used this here to get top 16 at Toronto Regionals, me and Shiling. Not gonna go over all our runs because that'll take a little bit too long because there's a lot more to cover here in this video. But also I don't remember all the details. If you do want to see my review of my matchup versus Wolf, I will have that link in the description. But yeah, that's really it. And yeah, that was the last Reg H tournament, or so we thought, because we got Reg H again back this year. And they announced this a little bit before Worlds. So that is when I decided to run back the exact same Toronto pace when they announced it on Ladder. So they announced it on Showdown, and I, I got rank 1 on Ladder with an almost 85 G6 here, which is really funny on the BO4 ladder here. And I got rank 1 before Worlds because I didn't have a Worlds team at the time. So I progressed my World Trip a lot to play Reg H, and honestly, this prep I did before Worlds was honestly the prep I did for my upcoming regionals, which was really funny. Just want to point that out. So that was kind of funny as well because speaking of Worlds again, so at Worlds I met up with Marcus, uh, uh, one of the best German players, and we were talking about my team. I thought I came out. It was at one of the after parties after Worlds, and we knew Reg H was coming back, so we were talking about like what we liked, and I was like, oh, I want to use Goldango. Goldango's so good. He's like, yeah, I also like Goldango, and I was like, you know what, you might like my Toronto team, man. And I showed him it. He's like, yeah, this looks really good. So he was like, okay, let's plan it out. And we were like, we both got regionals coming in September, so he DMs me to remind me that, yo, September Reg H regional win number 4 for both of us. So that was the end goal, and that is how I ended up prepping with a lot of the EU people on this team, a lot of the Europeans, right? A lot of the German players were on this. So we formed a group there. I also invited some of my Chinese friends here, like Chonjun and such, and William. And Chonjun here actually used the team to finish 18th in the GC, which was actually top 8 for North America for the region for Global Challenge, which is really cool. And the version he used here was essentially the same 6, right? We didn't really want to change it. I think all the sets were perfect for the tournament. It's kind of hard to really change sets. I know that people like want to check like Haze and Dragonite, but I think mono scare shot's really bad. Haze, while it's good for Scyther, it for your worst matchups, I think you do need Stomping Terra Ground. It just does the best. But the main change we made was this Goldengo. So, um, kind of going back over Toronto, I lost to Wolf pretty bad. While I did misplay, um, Electroshot Arch from Terra Electric was a roll to kill our Goldengo. Marcus had the idea of making the Goldengo slightly more bulky to take that shot a lot better. So you go from like a 40 something roll to a 25% roll, which is way, way better. And this is really nice because E-Shot Arch was picking up more in usage, not just on the Wolf team, right? I don't think I was really, I mean, while the Wolf set did traumatize me, I was not particularly really worried about the Wolf matchup because I knew only Wolf could play that team as well as he did, right? I was mostly worried about random E-Shot Arch on like hyper offense teams and such. So this bulk ended up being really nice, especially in the global challenge, because we all ran into the global challenge and Chunjin did really well with it. And there's a lot of E-Shot Arch in BL1. We dropped the special attack because I mentioned earlier the 36 was just dump after the bulk we needed, and there wasn't any particular like crazy calcs you got from 36 versus 4, right? I know it's a kind of a big drop off, but it's not a huge drop off, right? Not many calcs change, maybe like by 1 or 2%, but it wasn't by much. So yeah, that was the only change I made for the GC and Monterey, and I ended up using it at Monterey. And it's funny enough, like I booked Monterey before a little bit. I know it was actually after Worlds, just because I was feeling good with Reg H, and I really did miss it. And very last minute decision on impulse, but I don't regret them because I finished in top 4 of this tournament. Uh, we'll kind of be briefly going over my run and also talking about the matchups because, funny enough, I did face a lot of standard teams. I feel like in smaller tournaments, you tend to face weird stuff. I mean, I definitely did with stuff on here. We'll get into that a little bit later. But I faced a lot of stuff I did expect to see. And I prepped really hard for this. I hit up multiple friends on testing out for particular matchups. I knew going into this tournament, I prepped for a lot of the popular teams from the last run of Regulation Age, and also some of the teams that did well in Victory Road tournaments, such as Shoei's winning team here, like for my win in here. But let's talk about this. My round 1, I actually faced a student that Carson Confer coaching on their Toronto team that Chup Across got top 4 with. This matchup is pretty funny. I think it's a little coin flippy in a way, but Marcus Dion helped me a lot here as one of the users on this team as well. I found that Ninetales Arcanine was a really good lead because it pressures Volcarona very well. And I mentioned Volcarona is really annoying for the Goldenga mode. And because they have Indeedee, you kind of need to always bring Rilla for terrain control. And Goldengo is also really good versus most of the team. It's really good versus Sneasler and Indeedee. And it's good versus Annihilate and Tartar. It's also good versus Blood Moon if you have the right speed control for it, right? So game 1, I win with Arcanine, Ninetales, with Rillaboom Goldengo in the back, but my opponent leads Annihilate Tyranitar and has Indeedee Sneasler back. This is a little problematic because obviously I'm leading Arcanine in front of Defiant. But I knew this wouldn't be an issue because I have a safe play to get around this. What I did was double swap. I swapped out Arcanine to Goldengo to take the close combat and swapped in Rilla to get the Grassy Seed immediately. This is really good because it covers for basically everything unless they Rage Fist knock off my slot. But I knew my opponent wouldn't cover for that because I think when they see a lead like that, they're kind of overconfident in a way where they won't cover for that at all. And that's exactly what happened. And from there is when I have Rilla in the field, I still need to keep the terrain control for Indeedee later. So I hard swap the Rilla back to Tails and just set up. And I basically just win from there, right? Because I still have Rilla in back to beat Indeedee, and I'm set up Goldengo. Even at +1, Rage Fist does not do much to Goldengo. It's doing like maybe 30 something percent, right? And knockoff also doesn't do enough, right? And then I have Tails on the field. I can go for Icy and Shadow Ball to kill the Ape, etc. And Goldengo's in a prime position to kind of beat the rest of the team, right? So yeah, that's the general idea. And I did the same thing game 2. Actually, I didn't do the same thing game 2. Because I led Arcanine, they're not tended to lead Volcarona, right? So I led Rillaboom Goldengo. Rillaboom Goldengo is really good at catching this Annihilate TTR lead because it gets seed up immediately. And I also don't give Defiant to the Ape. So I'm able to just kind of just set up and win. I can swap the Tails to take a final Gambit if needed, just to preserve Rilla for Indeedee in the back. And I still have the speed control need as well from Tails. And I also beat the Weather War from T-Tar. So that was the general idea. And I think the matchup can be volatile. Sometimes you get the lead wrong. but it is very playable. You have a lot of tools to win. Basically, you just gotta utilize your speed control very well, utilize Arcanine very well, and of course Rilla, and then you abuse Goldango to win once you set up, right? General idea. Uh, my round two, I faced a hard Trick Room team. Um, so this matchup is funny. I've coached a few people on my team now, and a lot of people have kind of complained about the hard Trick Room matchup. But I mentioned earlier, when you have Rillaboom and you have Goldango, you have more than enough tools to beat most matchups. And this is one of those matchups where you have the tools to win, and also it can get hard if you get calls wrong, but it is very, very playable. So generally, and this is what I did as well during the set, I like to always do Arcanine, Goldango with Rilla tails in the back. So the idea behind Arcanine Goldango is you have a lot of immediate pressure on turn one. The idea behind Rilla tails in the back is you never want to lead Rilla because you want to win the terrain war versus Indeedee, and you also want to win the weather war with tails versus Torkoal, right? That's the general premise. But anyways, Arcanine and Goldango have a lot of immediate pressure on the Trick Room lead. This is because there's two plays on how this can play out. Hard Trick Room players always like to lead Indeedee and Gallade. That's like their default lead versus this team, and that's what they should usually lead, right? And they can either follow me in Trick Room, or they can swap out Indeedee and Trick Room with Gallade. They can also just attack with Gallade and Trick Room with Indeedee, right? Those are the kind of two options they have, or three options. And you have two plays. You can either double the Gallade slot as they don't click follow me or they hard swap, and you prevent the Gallade from moving and you can KO it. So you can Flare Blitz and Shadow Ball it. It's removed completely, and Indeedee is stuck on the field, or if Indeedee swaps to another thing, they don't set up Trick Room at all, right? Which is really, really good. Your other option is you can swap out into Rilla and you can nasty plot and you fake out pressure, and you can stall Trick Room turns from there. You also have Terra, Water, and Goldango to resist Torkoal and stuff, and Ninetales to make the eruptions weaker, right? I'll always kind of play out of Trick Room still, or in Trick Room still. Like if they set up Trick Room, it's still fine because you are set up with Goldango and you have a lot of immediate damage, which is really good, right? So that's the general idea of how to beat it, and that's why I did to win game one and game two. They just did Indeedee, Gallade, I believe Torkoal Hat, right? The Terra Blast Fire and Hat made it a little bit awkward sometimes, but I protected on turns where calling the Terra Blast Fire Blast, so I didn't have to Terra Goldango immediately, and I was able to kind of remove it from there, right? So very playable matchup. You gotta play a little strategically, but it's not that bad. You have a very straightforward two things you can do. You can force some coin flips, and I mean generally versus hard Trick Room, it's always kind of coin flips anyways, right? So yeah. Versus Jose, very interesting team. It's a day one team. Bramblegas, Talonflame, I think won like a Limits tour, like the first run of Reg H. So very very early meta team, and I just won with Rillaboom Goldango straight up. It was very straightforward to kind of set it up because it's like the Bramblegas is Phantom Force, right? So I'm never forced to Terra the Goldango immediately. I can like fake out, set up nasty, and I can Terra on a Phantom Force to like knock the KO for example, right? Which is really good. The Garchomp here is Earthquake only, so Rillaboom plus Goldango kind of walls that out completely, right? The only really threatening thing I found for this team was their own Goldango, but once it's removed, my Goldango beats the rest of the team. So I was able to win pretty smoothly with the line of Rillaboom, Goldango, Ninetales, and Arcanine. Ninetales it also hits a team for a lot of damage, like Blizzard on this, on also the Terra Flying, right? Also reversing the weather. And Arcanine's really good, of course, for intimidating the Tyranitar and Bramblegas, and it's also good versus Talonflame and Goldango, right? So that was the general idea. Sneasler is kind of hard to bring these matchups because it's not really doing much versus Goldie and the tail and stuff, right? And Dragonite is sometimes hard to bring because the taunt Talonflame here, right? Versus Javier, we're gonna go over this matchup a little bit again at Pittsburgh recap, but this was hard. So it's the Erizabeth team, which is one of my more tricky matchups. So before this tournament, I was asking a lot of help from Aaron Trailer, who was an expert at his team back in Reg H. He top cut, I believe, Sacramento with this team, except the main difference was there's a Goldango over Incineroar. And this is actually really important because I was only used to Goldango-centric game plans where they were more reliant on rain and such. But when I faced Javier, it was really awkward because he was leading Incin Sinistcha versus me. A lead I was actually never prepared for. I never faced Incin Sinistcha as a lead before. And this is really awkward because he basically had guaranteed Trick Room, and his Ursulin and Trick Room with Matcha Gotcha pins kind of killed my whole team if I wasn't careful, especially if I led poorly into it. And I did lead poorly into it. I led Rillaboom Goldango versus Incin Sinistcha, and he just hard swapped Ensign to Sinistcha as I faked out a nasty plot, and then Ursa just killed my whole team on the Trick Room, right? I mentioned earlier how Goldango can live the headlong with Intimidate and such, but it can't live the headlong plus the Matcha Gotcha. And if I Terra Water, I also die to Matcha Gotcha plus headlong, right? So that made it really awkward. I thought that maybe even if I Drum Beat and make it an instant call in the Ursa swap, it wouldn't have mattered because Ursa doesn't die to that, which is kind of messed up. This is because I'm running Drum Beating Rilla and I'm Jolly, and Make It Rain's really weak from Goldango, right? Ursa just has crazy stats. So yeah, I lost game one very badly. My lead was not good. My lead was mostly covered for like the Arch mode. I was kind of over prefer Arch that I didn't focus on a Trigger mode at all. Uh, the game two, I brought it a lot closer. I led Arcanine Sneasler to have a lot more early pressure on the instant Sneasler because I realized, okay, Trick Room's probably gonna be his best option. And I believe I had Rillaboom, Goldango in the back. And I actually brought it a lot closer. It came down to an end game where it was Rillaboom, Goldango versus Pelipper Instant, last two Pokemon. The only issue was there was 2 turns Trick Room left. If I protect Goldango and he doubles my Rilla, I just lose. So I don't protect my Goldango, and he Weather Ball my Goldango, and I lose on the spot because of that. So I think it was a 50-50, and he's got it right. Maybe I could have played a little bit safer, but it was a tough matchup, and I definitely wasn't approaching it maybe the best way as I should have. So yeah, that was that. Pretty tough loss. My round 5, I faced Hard Trick again, and again, it's just the same line. This was versus a good player, though. This is the Vancouver finalist, and the same game plan I did worked versus him. It came out game 3, though, because game 1, he actually crit E-Force my Goldango, which I believe did matter because it was Clovercloak Cat, and my Goldango had a lot more special defense this time. And I did Terra Water, but I was like 70-something%, so I believe the crit did matter a lot. Versus Ben, this was funny. I believe this one was actually on a side stream. I will also link that in the description. Some people were able to record some of the Swiss sets and the top cut sets at Monterey. Forgot to mention that as well. They don't stream Platinum events for some reason on official play Pokemon. So that's quite unfortunate, but thankfully we do have some footage at least. So I will link that in the description. But this team is really, really weird, right? It's like a almost standard team, right? It's like Instant Amu Goldango, but it's not set up Goldango, which is odd. But it's set you have a set up Kommo and a set up Primarina, and you have a Masquerada to pin Terra Waters, which is actually really annoying because I'm Terra Water Goldango, and Flower Trick crits me. So it completely ignores my Grassy Seed. So I lost game 1 because I didn't really know how to approach the matchup. I kind of threw stuff at the door, and it just didn't work. I teared my Goldango too early. I lost the Masquerade in the game, to sum it up. Game 2, I play a lot better around the Masquerada by not tearing my Goldango at all, or actually didn't tear any Pokemon at all. I led Sneasler Arcanine, and I had Rillaboom Goldango in the back. Having Grassy and Goldango still be nice, so knockoff wouldn't do as much for Masquerada. And he did Goldango, Ensign with Amu, Masquerada, game 2, and I was able to win from there. Just because I didn't tear my Goldango early, I was able to remove his Goldango, my Arcanine, and it was kind of clean house from there. Game 3, he leads Ensign Kommo-o and has Goldango, Masquerada in the back. I do the same for Pokemon, but this time I tear Ghost my Sneasler because I realized that if I get CC off on Kommo-o, he will not be able to set up the Clangorous Souls, and that's exactly what happens. He fake outs my Sneasler, not expecting Terraghost, because it's kind of funny. Like people see Terraghost, but no one respects Terraghost. You know what I mean? It's like it's one of those things where it's so obvious where you can always go for it that people sometimes ignore it, right? So that's exactly why Terraghost. I pull it off. I'm able to stop the Clangorous Soul, and I'm able to win from there because I have Goldango in the back that beats the rest of his team after I remove the Kommo-o plus his Goldango, right? So yeah, that was it. Going on into my round 7, this was for my win it in for day 2. I'm going to Roth. Roth was a really nice guy. Yeah, he was actually the one who encouraged me to go to Monterey. I was kind of hesitant at first, but I ended up going. Shout outs to him. And yeah, it's like a almost standard team, right? It's like usually see these Talon Bloodman stuff, right? Where it gets weird is again, second Masquerade in a row. Definitely not expected to face 2 Masquerade, but that's pretty funny, right? And it's a pledge team as well. So you have Water Pledge and a Grass Pledge here for the Swamp. So what Swamp does is you slow everything by a lot. So I actually don't know like the exact field effect, but basically everything's a lot slower, right? That's all you gotta know. So it makes my team slow for like 3 turns. A respects Goldie here, and you have a kind of random bulk up 8, but I'm guessing this is sort of like a magic check versus somebody's weaker matchups. And I'm able to win game 1 with actually bringing Dragonite for the first time. Dragonite's pretty good here because you're able to Scale Shot to kill Masquerada. You can also Scale Shot kill Talonflame, or you can Tail one to compete with Talonflame if you need. I know Taunt can be an issue sometimes, but Scale Shot does KO Talonflame, right? Um, so I led Dragonite Arcanine with I believe I had Rillaboom in the back with was it Ninetales? I believe it was either Ninetales or Sneasler back. Pretty sure it was Ninetales, just to beat this Annihilate. And he led Talon Gold and had Ape Masquerada in the back. Game one, I get a really good, I guess like probably the best turn one I can ask for. He calls me to click Rock Slide on the Talonflame and hard stops Talon to Ape to get the Rage Fist boost. But I just click Tailwind and Flare Blitz and remove the Goldango off turn one. From there, it's really hard for him to come back from the game because I had this Ricochet in my favor and Annihilate isn't set up yet. So I'm able to Encore Lock it in the end game and also beat it with Goldango. I actually forgot. Yeah, I had Goldango instead of Ninetales. Sorry about that. Yeah, Goldango beats the lineup in endgame because it doesn't get any Rage Fist boosts, right? Or any good Rage Fist boosts. So yeah, that was that. The game two, he leads Pledges and has Goldango and Ursaluna in the back. Um, and I'm able to I actually lead Ninetales this time because I was worried about leading Arcanine because if he led 8 versus Arcanine, that could have been a little bit more volatile. So I led Ninetales versus the Pledge stuff and led Dragonite, and now I just click Scale Shot plus Aurora Veil as he sets the Pledge. I'm able to remove the Masquerado Scale Shot, get the Veil up, and that Veil is gonna be really clutch to beat the rest of the game because I have enough bulk to kind of outbook the swamp, right? Because with swamps up, he's gonna be hitting me first for his next few turns, but I'm able to kind of just take every hit I need and end game with Goldango very, very cleanly. So yeah, that's how I made day two. Next, I'm going against Aaron Zhang. Um, Aaron Zhang is using a very it's just a funny scene here too. Ray Riz was actually supposed to be here as well, but he actually got sick. So that's why that's why Aaron came for Ray. But so sad not to see Ray, but cool to play Aaron. I've only played Aaron once at MSS, and that was it. But yeah, first time playing him at an official event, and it was a really fun set. Really close set too. I won 2-0, but it was intense. I lost this in GC actually. This is a GC team, and it did really well in the rank season. After Toronto, it actually won the cart season. The last time we had a Reg H on ladder, it won it. And a very unorthodox team, right? Fate Tears Whimsicott with 5 special attackers and a Sash Basket Legion. Also terrifying Plasco Dango, right? Um, so yeah, very, very, very annoying team. And this is where the Goldango spread will work. I don't believe he actually cooked Electric Shot into my arch into my Goldango. It never actually pulled off, but it would have been really good if he did click it because I had a pretty good chance to live. Uh, Aaron would always do Whims Dango with Arch Basque in the back. And I would always do Goldango Dragonite with Rillaboom Tails in the back. The general idea was I can always kind of match Tail and Whimsicott. And if he taunts me, I can KO it with Make It Rain and prevent his Tailwind, right? And that's kind of how game one plays out, except he doesn't taunt me. We just match Tailwinds, which is fine because I'm able to fire off and Make It Rain to remove the Whimsicott and to chip down the Goldango, while Goldango Shadow Balls Shadow Balls my Dragonite, which is kind of annoying because I tear my Goldango for no reason. But it's fine because Whimsicott is gone and there's no more Tailwind. This allows me to end game with Ninetales really nicely because the rest of the team he's bringing is slower than Ninetales and Rillaboom because he didn't bring Scarf Pelipper. So I'm able to win from there. Pretty nice, the game one. The game two was a lot closer because this time he prevents my Tailwind. And what I mean by that is he does the same lead, and I do the same 4 as well, and he Moonblast, Make It Rain my Dragonite. And I tear my Goldango again for no reason, and we trade. So he Moonblast, Makes It Rains, which kills my Dragonite from full after breaking multi-scale, and I Shadow Ball kill his Goldango. So it's a 3v3, which is fine, but Whimsicott is still alive, and there is no more Tailwind, which is really awkward. So from there, I bring out Rilla, he brings out Arch, and I'm able to fake out and Make It Rain to remove the Whims, but now I have to stall Tailwind turns with Arch and Basque on the field. I'm able to maneuver around it somehow because I'm able to protect the Goldango on the E-Shot, swap in Tails to the last respect to survive from there, and then I'm able to swap out like Tails back into Rilla or something, so Goldie gets the seat boost. I live last effects or something. I don't remember how I played out exactly. I think it was one of those slots he targeted, but basically Goldie lived on a sliver, and I'm able to win with Rilla in the endgame with gold on like 10 HP. It was really close, and I think I misremember some parts, but I remember it was that I stalled out Tailwind somehow, and I won, and it was a really fun set. That's it. But yeah, that's a general idea when you're raising some Tailwind teams. It's a little bit more awkward when it's like taunt whims and such, but like Dragonite's usually fine as a lead. Sometimes you can also lead Rilla Dango, but for this particular version, it's just too much offense on turn one where you can't sell Tailwind turns enough with just Rilla Dango lead, right? But yeah. Um, versus Everett for day 2, round 1. I'm against the same team. So same team again, both round 1s, just different days. And yeah, I do the same lead. But this time I stick with Ninetales Arcanine. I don't adjust at all into game 2 because Everett kept leading with Volcarona, kept bringing Volcarona. Game 1, he has Volcarona Blood Moon, EDD Sneasel back. I'm able to win game 1 with the same general game plans like Ice and Rock Slide, but he swaps out Volcarona immediately to Sneasler and Terras the Blood Moon. So this means the Volcarona is still alive. I connect the Rock Slide and Icy. Blood Moon does not flinch, but he kills my Arcanine, recognizing it is the biggest threat to the Volcarona. From there, I'm able to bring out my Goldengo, and I just like Icy Wind, make it rain. I kill the Sneasler, Ursa swaps out the Volc, and I break the Citrus on the Volc, or I make it very close to like breaking Citrus, and the Ursa comes back in for free the next turn. From there, I have another safe Icy Wind, make it rain to kill Ursa, because it's heavily chipped from Icy Wind and make it an Rock Slide before. But calling that Protect, I Icy Wind again and click Nasty Pot, no Terra in front of Volcarona and Ursa. And that gives me the momentum to win from there because I'm able to kind of protect and stall and cycle and fake out to beat the rest of the Pokemon, which was really nice. The game 2, he mixes up with Ape Lead, and it's a little bit annoying, but I'm kind of positioned well enough where it's kind of similar to how I beat the last guy in round 1. It just got a little closer because I had to call a CC targeting to kill Sneasel high horsepower really later, and I got it right, and that's how I won the game 2. Pretty closer. But generally, the Arcanine Ninetales lead works even if they lead Ape because you have a lot of room to play around it still. Um, my round 10 versus Mott was pretty annoying. I brought this to a game 3, but basically like this team on Team Preview looks really funny, right? It's like, why am I losing a site for Sylveon and Garganacl? First of all, they never bring Sylveon here, right? They should never bring Sylveon. He was always kind of bringing these 5 Pokemon, the Goldengo, Incin, Ninetales, Cypher, or Garg. Garg was really the main issue. My team has little ways to hit Garganacl, especially if it's behind Veil. This is because Goldengo takes a lot of damage from Solkira. I didn't know that. I thought Solkira was actually only damaged a lot more on water types. I clearly I didn't play any Reg A, as you could tell, and Solkira was really killing my Goldengo really fast. And this was really annoying, especially paired with a Scarf Goldengo, because Scarf Goldengo is faster than my whole team. So the combination of Scarf Goldengo, Instant, Ninetales, Garganacl was really annoying for me. And while I was able to bring it to a game 3, I just couldn't beat these 2 guys in the end. Cypher was low-key just aura farming. It was there, but it didn't really do much. I think these 4 were definitely better for him. And I'll go over the set again when we talk to my top 4, but yeah, that's to kind of sum it up. Brought to game 3 though. My winning in, I'm against the Shoei Kimura team that won Victory Road just a week before this tournament. So it's a standard MausApe team, and there's also a Dingo in here as well. And then you have a really strong supporting cast with Rilla, Dragonite, and Ursa Luna. He was kind of fixating a lot on these 4 Pokemon, MausApe, Dragonite, Rillaboom. I believe he did bring Goldengo 1 game, but he was mostly bringing these top 4, which made a lot of sense. And my general game plan versus MausApe overall is Sneasler and Dragonite. So this is my 3rd time bringing Dragonite now. Dragonite doesn't come to many matchups, but it's particularly really good versus MausApe, right? And the main reasoning behind that is because you have coaching and scale shot. Focus Sash Maushold, or Maushold in general, will always die to coaching and scale shot. And even if they get the beat up off on Annihilate, you will be boosted on your Dragonite, and you can kind of outpace your team in a way where your scale shot can kill the rest of their team if you play it correctly, right? And the back, I always have usually Ninetales and Goldengo, because Ninetales has that Encore support to kind of stop Ape from doing Stain. It can also Encore Ape into a bad move. Let's say if it does click Drain Punch for some reason. Encore into Drain Punch means your Goldengo just walls it, which is really nice. Ninetales is also faster than this whole team. As you can see, the speed stats on this team is actually very low. Your fastest Pokemon is Annihilate. So Icy One is very good in this team if you play correctly. And like I mentioned, yeah, Goldengo is really good at Stain versus Ape if you have the right conditions for it, right? So that's your general idea, and that's what I did. I did end up losing the game 1 though. So he does do MausApe lead. Well, he did actually really Ape lead at first, but we had DC, so that was kind of funny. I actually would prefer the real Ape lead, but whatever. DCs happen. So yeah, we did MausApe, and then he had Dragonite, and I believe he had Goldengo in the back instead of Rilla. And I actually lost the game 1 because I overread him. And we actually talked about it after the set. He said that he knows I like to play aggressive, so he made like a more crazy play. So like the play was his Knight was -1, and I could have killed a Shadow Ball, but I was calling it to protect or to like swap or something. So I didn't attack it for that turn, and then he just didn't protect. So I lost game 1 off that, which is pretty funny. Um, Game 2, I won a lot more smoothly. I'm able to kind of set the Dragonite very well. He actually leads something very different. He leads Rillaboom and Dragonite, and he has, I believe, Goldango in the back with Mouse Hold or something. And I'm able to win that a lot smoother. I believe that this was not the correct lead from him. I think MausApe was a lot more scary. But the general idea was, I mean, Scale Shot did apply a lot of pressure. He was trying to force a tear on my Dragonite, and I wasn't able to get the coaching boost immediately, but I was able to kind of position the tail to take the Scale Shot and then play it around the tail one from there. Um, the game 3, he leads Mouse Dragonite, and I believe he has Ape Rilla in the back. And this is really unfortunate because I actually end up freezing him. I called the Scale Shot targeting on the Dragonite again, and I saw the tails and such, but he's just so far behind because I clicked Blizzard on the Dragonite as Mouse Hold swaps into Ape, and it just freezes on turn 1, and you can't play the game from there. Um, it's probably looking bad for me, but I'm not entirely so sure. I remember how it played out, but basically the freeze auto won the game, and it was just unfortunate how it played out, and that's how I got the top cut. My first freeze during the tournament run, and Ninetales is kind of broken in its own way, right? When you're running fast Blizzard or fast Direct Call, fast Rock Slide, this team has a lot of RNG factors. I kind of forgot to mention that earlier. When you have speed like that, it's just the RNG will happen eventually, and I wasn't fishing for it. It just happened, and sadly, it just gave me an easier time to win, right? And that's just how it works sometimes with Pokemon. Um, in top 8, I'm against Erich, and this is funny. He's been using this team at Sacramento before. He top 8 Sacramento regionals with his team, and it's pretty scary on team preview, right? Because versus MausApe, I have to do Dragonite Sneasler, right? But he has a Sand mode, which is really bad for Sneasler on lead because it outspeeds Sneasler. Also, Indeedee is really bad for Sneasler. So I realized that I wanted Rillaboom Goldango in the back because it gave me the best option to beat both of these without having Ninetales, right? Because Ninetales is good versus the Sand mode, but it's a little bit worse into the Psyspam mode, right? And this ended up being the right call because he always did MausApe with Indeedee Sneasler back. Turn 1 played out how it normally plays out. I coaching Scale Shot the Mouse Hold as he bulked up and actually protect the Mouse Hold, which was kind of annoying because if I just Tailwind, I would have been in a good spot, but a little bit mind game there, right? The turn 2, he Terragoses, calling me to CC as I coaching again and Scale Shot the Mouse Hold. But what we see here is his beat up goes before Annihilate, or before my Sneasler goes, right? So he is faster than my Sneasler, and this is going to be important for the game too. So he burnt Terror for no reason, actually, and I'm able to Scale Shot kill the Mouse Hold, which is really nice. As he Rage Fist kills my, no, he doesn't kill my Sneasler, he actually targets down my Dragonite to put it down to break multi-scale. The turn 2, I'm kind of all set up, right? He brings out, I believe, Indeedee for Expanding Force. I sack the Sneasler to bring out Goldango. But the issue is, or did I sack Sneasler? No, I believe I CC'd one turn. I actually don't remember exactly what happened, or maybe I did get Tailwind. So something happened, and I killed something. But the position was I had Goldango on the field, and I should have put Tailwind on Dragonite because I ended up actually setting up a nasty plot, which was really greedy in front of Annihilate, but it ended up working fine because he didn't Rage Fist it, right? So it comes down to a 2v2 versus Rilladango versus Sneasler and it was Sneasler and an Annihilate in the field. And it's a mind game because this is where Drumbeat comes to play, right? If I protect and Drumbeat an Ape, I can outspeed Goldango the next turn to kill Annihilate. But he knows this, so he doubles my Rilla, and I don't protect the Goldango, and I killed Annihilate, and I win the game from there. So make kind of call. But the game 2 is funny because we see the interaction off game 1. His Mouse Hold is faster, right? So he doesn't Terra this time because he's Terra Ghost available, right? But he doesn't do it. He taunts my Sneasler as I CC Tailwind turn 1. And I went off that because he doesn't get beat up off, and I outspeed his whole team from there, which is really funny. So that's how it played out. There's a lot of mind games. MausApe is kind of like that. I'll also talk about more during my Pittsburgh run because I did face a lot of MausApe there. There's a few other plays you can go for, but the general idea is Sneasler Dragonite lead is pretty good, right? Versus Pengy again. This is again really annoying. He realized that Ninetales Goldango was his really good lead to beat my Arcanine Sneasler lead that I did game 2 and game 3 versus him, I believe, and I actually win game 1. I'm able to trade really well because instead of leading Sneasler Arcanine, I lead Ninetales Goldango, which is really nice. So I'm able to kind of Icy Wind Shadow Ball his Goldie, but the issue is I lose the speed tie. So he Make It Rains Blizzards, and my Ninetales dies before I get the Icy Wind off, so I don't break his Sash, and his Goldango's still alive, which is really annoying. I believe I actually lost every Ninetales speed tie. I think the only one I won was really irrelevant, but I had to win like the Icy Wind ones. I always lost them, so kind of funny. And he had a Scyther. No, he had Instant Garg in the back. And I have Sneasler Arcanine in the back after the Ninetales and Goldango down. I'm able to end game with that. Actually, no, he dropped the Gargano. He had Scyther for some reason. If he had Garg, it would have been actually a little bit trickier. But Scyther was able to get KO by the combination of Flare Blitz and E-Speed. And Instant Terrifier Blitz actually doesn't kill my bulky Sneasler, which is really funny. Uh, Game 2, I lose pretty hard to Ninetales Garg. I do lose an Icy Wind speed tie. I don't know if that one really mattered as much, but it mattered a little bit towards the end because it would have been nice to break the Tail Sash and maybe and I mean, yeah, breaking Tail Sash was the main thing, right? And I wasn't able to do that. The Game 3, this is where the speed tie really mattered because I do Tails Goldango again, as he does Ninetales Garg, and he has Goldango and Scyther in the back. Again, Scyther doesn't really do much. I don't think it was really that important, but it's mostly these two were annoying, plus this guy. And I click Icy Wind, Make It Rain, and he moves first. This is really big because he gets up a Royal Veil, which means I kill a Tails, which is whatever, but he gets a Fruit Up to Goldango, and the Gargano gets Moringa Berry, plus it is under Veil. So I do way less damage to it with my physical attackers, right? Like, give him Moringa Berry is whatever Goldango, because Goldango's main role is to remove the Ninetales and get damage to Garganacl, and from there I'm trying to win a Sneasler Arcanine, and now I can't do that with this Garganacl being way too healthy behind that Veil. At that point, I need to go for maybe a flinch or a crit on it, and I whiff Rock Slide on the Scyther coming in, and I just lose from there. Pretty rough set, and definitely one of the harder matches for the team because my team has a little ways to break Garganacl, but I mean, I knew going into Pittsburgh that this team wouldn't be that common. Like, Penny had a really good team for this tournament in particular because it was a lot smaller, the matchups he pulled, and also, like, he pulled me twice. And, I mean, like, yeah, good team for the tournament and bad team for me. Really bad team for me. And hopefully I never face this ever again. But yeah, that was it. And one funny note too is Sneasler and Scyther also speed tie. That happened in our Swiss round, but that's a little irrelevant. So yeah, that was my Monterrey run. I finished top 4. It was my first time getting a medal in forever. Well, I mean, I got a medal in San Antonio, but like I've only gotten medals where I've won. It's the first time I got a medal where it was just like a top cut, which is kind of funny. So yeah, going to Pittsburgh, we ran the same stuff. There was no reason to make changes because there's only a week behind from tournament to tournament, right? I mean, the main thing was that there's Frankfurt there as well. So we had Monterrey and Frankfurt that same week, and then Pittsburgh's next week, right? So 2 tournaments that might change some things. And it changed a little bit, right? So you may notice 5 of the same spreads are still here. But the main thing is the Sneasler. Sneasler, as you can tell, is 1 point faster. So I was 157 before. So why am I 158? Was it because of Scyther? Not really. Again, like I said, I don't think Penguin was supposed to bring Scyther in that matchup, in my opinion. It was mostly because of Aspafra. So Aspafra did top 4 Frankfurt, funny enough. And in Frankfurt regionals, Carrier did top 4 with Aspafra here, right? So Aspafra hits 157. And that comes up in play actually, because being 158 means I can outspeed Aspafra after White Herb if it ever gets +2. So yeah, and that's really nice because I bring Caesar in this matchup because it beats Arcanine and Gambit for my Goldango, right? So yeah, that's exactly it. It didn't come to play at all during Pittsburgh, but I thought that was a funny note. So essentially, I ran back the exact same team, and it went out pretty well for the most part, right? I finished in top 8 of this tournament, and we go over some of the matchups here as well. Yeah, so I'm round 1. I'm against Began, and it is against the same team I faced my win in, right? For Monterrey. And this one plays out a little bit smoother, actually. I think I definitely flowchart this one a lot better. So instead of going for like coaching scale shot immediately, I decide to have a more, I would say, consistent play. It covers for everything but one if they lead MausApe, and they do lead MausApe. They lead well, no, this actually they lead Mouse Gold. So I actually talked about that is game 2. Sorry. So they did the Mouse Gold. So Mouse Gold, and they had Dragonite Ape in the back. And this is a little awkward because Mouse Gold has a lot more 50-50s than MausApe. Because MausApe is a little more predictable. You have the beat up, you have the follow me, you protect, right? And Ape is not as nearly as scary as Goldango's lane because this Mouse Gold has Super Fang. So I have to be worried about either Protect and Plot or Super Fang Make It Rain. when we see Dragonite. If they Super Fang Make It Rain me, they can kill my Dragonite before I can move, which is really, really bad. But if they Nasty Plot on my Protect, that's also really, really bad, right? So a make ground play I did for the turn 1 of game 1, I close combated the mouse hold and protected my Dragonite, calling a Super Fang Make It Rain, and that's not exactly what they did. But it ended up being fine because I break the mouse hold sash. They super fang my Sneasler actually. I guess they call the protect, and they just click make it rain to remove my Sneasler. Right? I guess they call it protect there, but that's totally fine because now that means the Goldango is -1. So I bring out my gold here, and because it's -1, Super Fang plus Make It Rain does not kill my Dragonite, which is what they go for. I set Nasty Plot on Tailwind, and I'm in a really positive position from there. I'm able to trade damage pretty well and remove the Goldango. And it comes down to like Dragonite even endgame, and I bring out Tails on the last turn of Tailwind, and they go for a double protect. It had the perfect Encore pin and able to win from there pretty cleanly. The game 2, they adjust with MausApe, and I believe it's just Dragonite Goldango in the back again. And yeah, MausApe is a little bit more easier to deal with, in my opinion, because I have another play I can do besides the coaching scale shot. I can hard swap Sneasler into Tails and click Scale Shot into Mouse Hold. And this is good for 2 reasons. And it only doesn't cover one play, which is beat up Rage Fist immediately to Ninetales, but they don't usually do that. They usually want to set up Bulk Up, right? This is because with Bulk Up, they can now start one-shotting everything with the Rage Fist, right? So what I go for is Scale Shot into Mouse Hold as they go for the beat up and the Bulk Up, right? And this means after Scale Shot, Dragonite is guaranteed faster than everything on the field, including my own Ninetales. And after Scale Shot, because Mousehold always lives Scale Shot, I can kill the Mousehold with Stomping Tantrum and then Encore the Ape into Bulk Up. And that's exactly what I do, and that's how I sequenced it. And I'm able to win off that actually, because they actually don't protect, and they're locked in Bulk Up, and they're able to kind of just Blizzard, Scale Shot, and win from there. So that's another cool plan you can do versus a lot of mouse teams. And MausApe inherently is just 50-50s. I don't think there's really consistent line you can do with most teams versus MausApe. And it's a little bit tricky, but it is very, very playable, right? Versus Samuel, this is a very strange team. A Jetpack Flamigo with Rotom Wash. But I kind of go for some Orthodox leads, I believe. I did Rilla Gold, I think game 1 or something, or I did no, I did Dragonite Tails game 1. Just because I just want to remove the Murkrow early, even like I didn't think they would lead T-Tar, and I had Rilla Gold in the back. I lose Tails really early to the Iron Head Chomp and such, but I'm able to force the tear on the Chomp, so I don't want to tear on anything else. So Rilla plus Gold kind of cleans up really, really well, and that's exactly what happened. The game 2, I lead Dragonite and Rilla, just so I can just go for the Fake Out, and I go for a Terra Ground Scale Shot into Murkrow. And I only Terra Ground, and this was just to keep my multi-scale to not get chipped from the Tyranitar. And they were always bringing like Murkrow, Chomp, T-Tar, and Flamigo. Which I mean, I guess it's kind of annoying if they ever crit my Goldengo, but I never got crit, and I'm able to kind of win pretty smoothly. Um, versus Germany, this is my one loss in Swiss, and this was really hard. So I mentioned earlier how versus Psyspam, you have a very generic line of Arcanine and Goldengo with Philip and Tails. They have Gambit. That's pretty hard for Arcanine, right? And I lose game 1 very, very badly. He just leads Gambit Pulp and just kills my whole team, basically. So that didn't go to plan. I probably shouldn't have led Arcanine after I selected Gambit, but I tried it anyways, and it did not work. Game 2, a lot smoother. I bring out Sneasler and Goldengo as a lead with Rillaboom Tails in the back. As he does the same thing, I believe he's just Dragapult, King Gambit, and he had a kind of underdog lead in the back. He had Sneasler and Torkoal, which is funny. But it actually was pretty scary. And it's a lot smoother because he goes for Terra Darts turn 1. So Terra Darts plus Sucker Punch, my Sneasler lived on like 5. So the bulk, it's not just for Scale Shot. You live kind of just random double ups, and it was really good there. So maybe just remove the King Gambit, and I make it rain in case the King Gambit did Terra Dark, and I just kill King Gambit, and Pult's like at 30% now, right? And then I'm able to win with Real Tails in the back. It was kind of close at endgame, but that was a lot nicer. The game 3, he switches up completely, leads Indeedee Arma, and has King Gambit Torkoal on the back. So go into hard Trick Room mode. And I kind of get snowballed from there. It's really hard to stop the Trick Room. I can't stop the Trick Room, actually, right? Well, actually, I could have killed the Armarouge. I played a little too safe, right? So I could have direct called Shadow with Armarouge. He doesn't click Follow Me or Trick Room there. He just clicks Trick Room and Armor Cannons, right? And that's really annoying. If I just doubled Armarouge, Armarouge been gone, and that might actually be a little bit easier to deal with, but it probably still wouldn't have been guaranteed, right? And there's a situation where he also crit my Goldengo at like 70% when I Terra Watered, which was annoying. I don't know how much it mattered because I don't know if I had enough damage on King Gambit because it was still King Gambit Torkoal in the back under I think there's 1 or 2 more turns of Trick Room. So it was still looking doomed, but the crit just sealed it up and meant I couldn't win from there. So yeah, pretty hard matchup because if you're bringing a Snoozer for King Gambit, it's just really bad versus the Trick Room mode, and I'm not sure how I should approach this differently. It was just definitely like one of my more like, I mean, I guess it's kind of an auto loss or a really hard matchup. I think this has a lot of tools versus me, so pretty tough. Um, my round 4, I'm going up against like a Erizabeth variant. A very weird Erizabeth variant. So Erizabeth is, I mean, how I picture Erizabeth is these 3 Pokemon, right? Sinistcha, Arch, Pelipper. But this is a lot weirder because it's the standard 2 sets here, almost standard Sinistcha set, but it's Terra Steel and it's Nasty Plot. So there's actually 3 setup things here: Nasty Plot Sinistcha, Nasty Plot Terra Normal Goldengo, and Swords Dance Sneasler, right? So 3 setup options, and I'm able to win pretty smoothly. I win with Sneasler Arcanine. With I believe I have Rillaboom and Goldengo in the back. I actually don't believe I did bring Tails immediately. And Sneasler Arcanine has a lot of immediate pressure on their team, which I really did enjoy. And because it's Terra Normal Goldengo as well, like the combination of like Terra Normal Gold, his Arch, and like Terra Steel Sinistcha, like the combination of Arcanine plus Sneasler just did hit his whole team, and that's how it kind of played out the game 1 and game 2. Uh, Tommy, my my round 6, I put his really bad. I'm not gonna lie. He definitely deserved to win. I was bringing the wrong Pokemon. It was the issue. So I actually practiced this matchup. Well, not exactly. So there's another version of this team going around. King Gambit, Rillaboom, Tail, Scarf Bastion is a very popular core. Normally, what you see in this slot sometimes is like Magmar, and then I believe this is like a forgot what's other Pokemon that's normally on these teams. I know it top eight this term as well. But anyways, it's usually like Magmar and not Volc. But I was kind of defaulting to like Tail stuff. I wasn't bringing Rillaboom. So Rillaboom would have been nice because it would have been really good for Basket Legion. And Tails wasn't really doing anything because Tails was only really good versus King Gambit, right? But I was kind of over on King Gambit because I definitely had enough plays to beat it because I had Sneasler because it's Terra Dark, right? So I didn't have to worry about Terra Ghost or whatever. So I definitely didn't need Tails. I kept bringing it, and it just made Volcarona a lot more annoying, right? And also like without bringing Rilla in the game 1, game 2, the Basket Legion was just kind of cleaning up if I was like not careful, right? And I only won game 1 because I crit the Volk with like +1 Shadow Ball from Goldengo, and he was like +2. And got really fortunate there. So like that was really annoying to like win like that. And then game 2, he kind of beats me kind of cleanly. I make a pretty bad read. Like CC the Volcarona Con King Gambit swap. We're trying to get. I thought the CC would kill Volcarona at that range. It lived on like 1, and I needed the speed boost because I wanted to outspeed Scarf Bastion endgame, and it just didn't work. Game 3, I played a lot better because I bring Dragonite Arcanine in the lead because he's kind of I kind of identified that he wasn't leading King Gambit because it's harder to lead because he's Terra Dark, right? He kept leading Volcarona +1, Volcarona Basque, or Volcarona Rillaboom, right? And he would always have like King Gambit in the back, or for game 3 he had Ninetales. And he does Rilla Volc with Bass Tails in the back. I do Arc plus Dragonite lead, and I have Rillaboom in the back with did I bring Goldengo? No, I brought Sneasler in the back. I want to keep Sneasler healthy for mainly King Gambit if needed, right? And I'm able to protect the Dragonite as he fake outs and quivers. I click Rock Slide. He fake outs my Dragonite to break Multiscale, and it's pretty important because it's Terra Fairy Blast. He breaks my Multiscale, the Fairy Blast will kill me after +1. But I Rock Slide and I flinch him. And that gives me a lot of momentum to win from there. I do think that it's still playable without the flinch, potentially. Um, but it's hard to say. I think I definitely got lucked because I mean maybe it's not because then he could go I Terra Blast me. It's probably cooked. I just got really lucky. I got bailed out. Definitely one more tougher matchups, and I played it unoptimally. I think that if I played the game 1 and game 2 better, I probably would have had more chance to play it out. But the way I approached it my first 2 games was just really bad, and he just got kind of robbed. So yeah. My round 6 versus Zachary Weed. This set was really funny. This set was really funny. So game 1, I default to Sneasler Dragonite. This is a lot easier to do as well because it's Terra Dark King Gambit. So there's no mind games with CC, right? If it's Terra Ghost, sometimes there's some awkward calls, but Terra Dark makes it a lot more playable. So I do Sneasler Dragonite with Arcanine Tails both games. He leads Sneasler King Gambit, and he always has Volcarona Rilla or Volcarona Buzz. I believe he did Volcarona Buzz the game 1. And I win off the bat on turn 1 because I go for a pretty stupid play. So, I'm Terra Ghost Sneasler, but he has Fake Out and Sucker Punch on that slot if he's calling that. I completely disrespect that. I just go for raw Terra Ghost CC in the King Gambit as he Fake Outs me and he doesn't sucker, and I just kill it. I went off the spot too because with King Gambit gone and with my Terra Ghost Sneasler, he has no more room for damage, right? King Gambit was his main win con. So I'm able to scale shot his whole team. Scale shot kills Sneasler, scale shot plus CC kills Buzz, and then Volc can't do anything, right? Versus Dragon Knight. So that's how it played out. Uh, the game 2, I do Sneasler Dragonite, Wolf the same 2 in the back. He does the same lead, but this time he has Volcarona Rillaboom in the back. It gets a little bit scarier. Turn 1, he goes for Protect Coaching, as I go for CC and Scale Shot. I don't Terror this time because I know he's not going to fall for it again, right? Scale Shot kills Sneasler. King Gambit is +1. From there, I protect Sneasler, I believe I swap to the tails, or I don't know if I sacked the Dragonite, but anyways, it was kind of that state. But he's Rillaboom in the field and +2 Gambit, and then from there he clicks +2 Sucker and Glide into Sneasler. I live it because of the bulk. I barely live, which is really good. That's what the bulk's there for. It's not just for a scale shot, it's to live the sucker punches plus doubles for your worst matchups. Goldango sucks ass versus King Gambit. You need Sneasler to hard carry, and that's what it does best here. And that's exactly how I lived, and it carried. And I CC Blizzard, I remove the King Gambit, I went off that. So yeah. Um, I think that the spreads really helped, and the King Gambit being Terra Dark really helped. I think if it's Terra Ghost, your game plans do vary a little bit. I think versus Terra Ghost King Gambit, I like to kind of rely more on Encore and support options like that to kind of stall out the sucker punches and such. But yeah, versus Terra Dark, it's pretty straightforward, and you have a lot more room to play. For my win and in, I'm against the Erizabeth team variant, and again, this is a team that I've struggled a lot. I think I'm like at this point 0-5 versus team. I played like 4 sets with Aaron Trailer, free. I lost to Javier at Mexico, and I played Keanu in practice, and he was helping out with his matchup, and I started winning versus him because he told me what to do. He ran us at Mexico as well, and he's been helping out a lot of people in his team, and we came out with some few situations, right? So well, it's a little bit different though because he's leading Instant and Sinistcha, right? I think a lot of people, if they have Instant version, they will lead Instant Sinistcha most times. So I had to respect that. It's a little bit different than prepping for the Scarf Goldango one. So I lead Sinistcha, not Sinistcha. To call the Sinistcha Instant lead, I lead Arcanine Sneasler, and I have Goldango Tails in the back. So Arcanine is definitely a little bit weaker to the rain mode, but I'm hard calling out the Sinistcha Instant lead, right? And what this does is I have immediate pressure on both Pokemon. I have CC Blitz pressure into Sinistcha. If it does Terra Dark, I can CC the Instant, but I don't actually want to CC the Instant. The main thing about my lead is I run a pressure to Sinistcha, forcing a Fake Out, so he can't immediately hard swap Instant to Ursa like Javier did versus me in Mexico. If they hard swap the Ursa immediately, set up Trick Room, and they burn Flame Burst immediately, I just lose, right? So I can't let that happen. So he knows that he can't hard swap because CC will just kill Instant, or it'll also kill Ursa on a swap if he swaps in, which is terrible for him. So he just goes for his Fake Out and Trick Room as I coaching and Flurry Blitz to Sinistcha. So this allows me to stall 1 turn of Trick Room while not giving the free swap to Ursaluna. And from there, I'm able to kind of just throw CCs and close up to in Trick Room. He can Power and Shot out, but Ursa's never safe to come in. I actually get it wrong, and I don't catch the Ursaluna. I kill the Sinistcha instead. But with Sinistcha gone, there's no more Trick Room turns. And as long as I stall the Trick Room turns with there, I just win. I'm able to Protect Stall, sack 1, get in Goldango on the Trick Room, on the last turn Trick Room, Protect, and I'm able to end game with a combination of Goldango, like Sneasler and such, and I'm able to beat the Ursa, right? So that was the general idea, and it worked out very, very well. The game 2, he switches it up. He leads Basilisk Instant and has Pelipper Arch in the back. I switch it up completely as well, and I lead Sneasler Goldango. I drop the Arcanine and have Rillaboom Tails in the back. So the idea behind Sneasler Goldango, it's a little bit better versus Rain in case he does that, because I have Terra Water if needed. I can also swap to Rilla. But I didn't have the need to swap to Rilla here. I just go for a raw CC into Instant, and I go for Terra Water Nasty Plot as he just knockoffs and would crashes my Goldango, and Instant lives on 1, and Instant actually kills my Goldango because he crits me with knockoff. So pretty bad turn 1, but the turn 2, I bring in Rilla, and I make a pretty ballsy play. I CC a Basilisk Legion. So after wave crash damage, the Basilisk Legion is in range of glide, so CC would cover for the Basilisk Legion to swap to Arch. And that's exactly what happens, and that's the momentum I need to win. Because Arch is low, I can always kill CC later, and Basilisk Legion is always in glide range. And that is very important. and that's how I win this game 2, and I make day 2 of Pittsburgh. Um, my last round of Swiss, I'm up against Eric Bartlett, and he's one of my locals, funny enough. And yeah, it plays exactly the same as my set versus Megan. I win the game 1 with my game 2 play versus Megan with the encore play. Encore completely shut down Ape. I'm able to kind of snowball with a combination of Dragonite. Scale Shot Dragonite actually went crazy. I got the, he didn't get, because he wasn't bulk up anymore, Scale Shot just killed his whole team basically, which was the general idea, which is really nice. He was actually opting to bring different picks though. He would always do MausApe. He wouldn't bring Dragonite though. He would bring MausApe, Dango, and have Rillaboom instead, which is smart because Rillaboom does pin my Terra Grass on Dango, and also pins my Terra Ground on Dragonite. I believe in the game 1 actually, it came down to if my Godengo, or it was game 2. I think I set up Veil, and I had Terra Water and Dango, and I ate Grassy Glide. I know it's Miracle Seed, but the Grassy Glide did like maybe 40 or 30. Or I think it did like 30. It did way less than he thought it would. He looked like really shocked, which is funny. Um, the game 2, I win a 50-50. I Shadow Ball the Ape as it doesn't protect, as the Ruin Terror fires. He was calling me to kind of click make it rain that turn, and something like that. But it plays basically is pretty similar. I do the same exact turns, except this time I don't go for the hard swap into Tails because he calls me to swap and clicks Raw Rage Fist. If I swap the Tails, I would just lose my Sash immediately. So instead I trade my Sneasler. But yeah, general idea versus MausApe teams, Sneasler, Dragonite, Tails, Goldengo is very, very strong, and that's what you should generally be doing. Um, so yeah, I make day 2, and this is my first time making day 2 in a minute with a X1 record while being able to prep for day 2. So for Monterrey, team sheets were not out, but team sheets were posted the night of day 1, and it allowed me to give me some room to prep. And funny enough, the matches I prepped for were the matches I pulled for my first 2 rounds. So I wanted to kind of look over some of the weirder teams at 7-1, and Abaralura was one of them because I was kind of worried about this team because it's like Scarf Dango is one of my like scary things. He also has Volcarona, which I don't like seeing, and also Grimstar, which I have little experience like facing in this format, right? So I ran a few practice sets with my friend John Z on this, and it went out pretty well for the most part, right? I was able to win. Abaralura brought it close into a game 3 set. Game 1, I'm able to win with Ninetales Arcanine, and I have Rillaboom Goldengo in the back, and he leads. He always led Grimsnar Goldengo, and he was bringing Volcarona, and he had Corviknight game 1, which didn't really do much for him. I think that's kind of why he dropped it. And the game 2, he actually brought Hydreigon, which made more sense because Hydreigon with Terra Steel was a lot better for my Goldengo, and I wasn't really bringing Sneasler because Sneasler's kind of hard to bring here because Sneasler's pretty bad versus T-Wave, Grim, and Goldengo, for example, right? So it was hard to bring. And he beats me a lot more cleaner the game 2 because I make a pretty ballsy play. I like keep in Arcanine, and I like Flare Blitz to Goldengo, and I like Encore to Grim, expecting like him to click screens or something, and I just get it completely wrong, and I just lose my tails. And I take too much damage from Arcanine, and the Volcarona cleans me up, which is really annoying. Game 3, I switch it up completely, and I win with I did Dragonite Goldengo lead, and I have Tails in the back. I with Arcanine. So the day is like preserving Arcanine HP to beat the Volcarona in the endgame, and using Dragonite to set up Tailwind to outpace the Scarf Goldengo and the Thunderwaves. And he can't Thunder my Goldengo, so I'm able to set up and kill the Grimstar eventually. And that's exactly what happens. Game 3 kind of came down if he Dark Pulse went to my Arcanine. It didn't happen, and Arcanine gets the KO back. So that was really nice. My round 2, I'm against Mezzy, and he beats me really cleanly. The game 2. This is actually one of my harder matchups as well. So Mouse Dango with Tailwind is really tricky. I mentioned how Mouse Dango in particular is like a really coin flippy lead, but now I mentioned he's pairing it with Tailwind, and he also has Scarf Basket Legion, which is really hard to switch into and such. So he beats me game 1 with Scarf Basket Legion, Mouse Hold, Goldango, and Whimsicott lead, Whimsicott back, and I brought I brought like I believe I brought Tails Arcanine with no, I did Sneasler Arcanine with Rilladango in the back, and I just get out damage. I also got a lot of turns wrong. There's a time where I swapped to Rilla and like protected. When I could like plot it up eventually, which was annoying. Or and then I no I like double swapped, but I double swapped the wrong way, and then that was annoying. And then there's a turn where I was able to get like a free nasty plot or shadow ball. It didn't happen. I faked out like Goldengo as it didn't Terra. I just got game 1 completely wrong. Um, Game 2 was a lot cleaner. I lead Rilla Gold, and I have Arcanine Tails in the back, as he does Whims Gold with Ensign Mouse in the back. And I'm able to damage trade a lot better, because actually without bringing Basket Legion, I felt like it was a lot easier for me to deal with, just because it couldn't revenge kill me in the end game. and I'm able to kind of like look at like high horsepower make it rain. Golding goes very low. It's being a glide range later, and I'm able to clean up with the combination of Tails and Rilla in the back, Tails and Arcanine in the back. Um, Arcanine's really good in its endgame because it's really good versus Incin, Goldango, and Mouse. It's only really bad versus Basket Legion, and that's where Goldango and Rillaboom come into play a lot. Game 3 is a lot closer. He does Basket Legion Mousehold again, and he has Goldango Limbs in the back again. And I do the same thing I did as game 2. I click Fake Out and Shadow Ball the Bask as we trade. He just Wave Crashes me, I believe, the Goldie, and he just flinches the Mousehold there, and we just trade damage. I kill the Basket Legion as he damaged my gold for a lot, and he brings his gold for free. And this is the awkward turn. I do believe the Wave Crash actually didn't do enough to me where I would have got KO'd by Shadow Ball. What I should have done was I should have Terra Watered. I I kind of I got too scared and I didn't do it. And because I thought he would Shadow Ball Population Bomb on my Terra. And if I just Terra Watered Shadow Balled him as he didn't follow me, he didn't even Terra Steel, I would have just killed him or brought him low enough in like Blizzard or Rock Slide, and I didn't do it. And because I didn't do it, I lost my gold. And it came down to basically Tails and Arcanine in the endgame. And it was really annoying. So I had to protect the Arcanine to get Blizzard damage to put Mousehold in range of another Blizzard was my idea. And if I kill Mousehold in 2 Blizzards, I can Flare Buster Goldango was my end game. But I get a double freeze with Blizzard, and it just completely locks it up because I get a 2-turn freeze. So I got a little belt in the end game, but if I do believe if I did Terra by Goldango, this matchup would have been a lot more playable. But overall, it was very scary. Messi had a lot of scary tools, and he was playing it really well for the most part, just till the Blizzard freeze, right? You can't control that. And again, like I wasn't even fishing for the freeze. I was just gaining the damage I needed to get a second Blizzard off to try to kill the mouse. So it was my only win con at that point. I guess my other win con was the freeze, and that just locked it up, right? So yeah, some lucky wins, to say the least. My round 3, I faced Darius, another one of my locals, and this is one of my better matchups. I was actually I'm sorry, but like I was actually like happy to see this because it was one of my easier matchups in day 2. Like standard rain, I have a lot of practice in this team, and it felt really good because like the practice I did really did pay off, and I'm able to win with Rilla Dango, Arcanine Tails in the back, and I kind of outdamaged Arch. I moved the Arch early, and I can just win the Weather War from there. Like if Arch gone, he has no ways to kill Terrawar Dango, and I always pin his Dango with my drum. This is where drum bean's really good, right? So drum bean can make the Dango slower for my Goldango to kill it. Even if Terra finds it lives, I have Arcanine back to clean it up. So I have Arcanine and Tails in the back. Game 2 is a lot closer, but I kind of make some better call outs. So he goes for like what Incin. Oh no, he actually leads Peli Arch as I go for again Rilla Dango, and he has Incin Dango in the back. I go for Fake Out Nasty Pot, which is fine, but the turn 2, I call him to cover for the Ninetale swap, and I just Shadow Ball and Drum Bean the Arch, so he can't flash cannon my Tails on a swap to kill me and win the Water War. And that's what exactly it does. He just click E shot. My real lives. I can drum beat and shadow ball. And for that, I basically kind of just win the game because Arch is so low. Once the Arch is removed, the combination Goldango, Tails, and Arc beats the rest of the team. And that's exactly how it played out. I think that was his best play coming to Tail Swap because the matchup is rough for him. He has to make plays like that, and I just figured it out completely. And I was able to, make top cut. Um, my last round of Swiss, I'm against Jeremy Colt, and this matchup is funny because it is the exact team that won Frankfurt, and it's a 4-mon mirror. So I knew it kind of came down to who played better, and he was playing very well. I'm able to win game 1 though. He led Instant Blood Moon, and I believe he had Sneasel or Rilla in the back, which was kind of funny him dropping gold. I think he did need gold here, and he did realize that game 2, game 3. But anyways, he did that, and I always did Rilla Dango with Arcanine Sneasler in the back. Arcanine Sneasler has a really good pins in endgame because Sneasler plus Arcanine hits their whole team for super effective, basically, right? Um, Especially like if I force Terror on Goldango early, if he does bring it, he's nothing, literally nothing, right? So maybe the one game 1, I do think his game plan wasn't as like I guess like as good as he needed because Sneasler didn't do anything. I think that's the main issue. So he replaced it with Goldango for game 2. And I kind of lose off turn 2 because I make a more risky play. So he leads instant gold, I lead Rilla Dango. And I just drum me and Shadow Ball his gold, no Terra, as he fake outs my gold and Shadow Balls my gold to kill it. So I make a really risky play off game 2 because I was up a game, and I thought it was a play that he would least expect, and he covered for it. So got punished, and it came down if I could get any lucky Dire Claw or Rock Slide flinches. Didn't go my way. Of course, I went for the out, didn't get it, and I lost, and that's totally fine. Game 3, RNG definitely, I guess this is karma for the double freeze earlier, but didn't go my way. I believe it was a double crit that happened, and I missed double high horsepower, I think. Wasn't great. Anyways, so what happened was I do Rilla Dengo versus Instant Dengo. I go for the fake out, and I Terra Water Shadow Ball his goal to bring it very, very low. And he Shadow Balls mine. I take like 40, which is fine. But from here, I read I'm reading the instant swap or parting shot here, and he's going to protect the gold because it is in range of a hit. So I swap out Rilla into Arcanine, I set up again. And this is really, really good because I'm set up, and he swaps it instant to Rilla, but he can't kill my gold at all with Glide or Shadow Ball. So I don't even protect, I double the gold slot. He fake outs my Arcanine, so I can't kill his gold. He Shadow Balls me first, and he crits me a Shadow Ball. And that puts me at a really bad spot because I basically have to end game from there with a combination of Sneasel and Arcanine, which is still good because Goldango is so low, I can just CC the rest of the team. And that's kind of what happens. I like CC swaps, and he has no CC swap-ins. Ursula does Terra, but I still have a combination of like high horsepower to hit it. And it comes down to like if I land high horsepower at all on the Ursa to put it down lower, maybe I can win the Rilla 1v1 a lot easier. But I missed the high horsepower and it's just unplayable. So yeah, a little unlucky, but this matchup is very playable. You just gotta like trade pieces well, and like don't be afraid to play aggressive, right? You have a lot of like tools, and again, this matchup just comes out to play. And he did play well for the most part. Just got a little lucky to game free, but it's whatever. Um, this was the potential for the buy. I believe that even if I did win this, I wouldn't have gotten the buy because only one person got the buy for top 8, and that was Chop Across, and he had the best resistance, right? Uh, my top 16 match, I'm against Roger Ball. This is really funny too, because one, it's a Ninetales mirror, as you may notice, it's Kanto Ninetales. Two, I faced Roger in the GC, and I did lose to him in the GC, and he told me that. Three, I'm carpooling with Rajan. Yeah, last minute, he needed a ride home, and I'm taking him home. So it was funny because he was saying that he asked me like, if I beat you, will you still take me home and stuff like that. But no hard feelings. Game one, he leads Whimsicott, Ninetales, and he has Ursula and Dragonite in the back. I do Ninetales Arcanine. I kind of realized Arcanine is really, really good versus team. As you can see, it's good versus Whims, good versus Tails, Dragonite, Rilla, and Mouse. It's only really scary versus Blood Moon, but I have plays that get around that. I'll kind of mention that later. So I just Icy Wind Rock Slide as he protect the Whims and Heat Wave the Ninetales. I connect Icy, but I miss Rock Slide, which is pretty bad. The turn 2, I just click the same moves as he Tailwinds and he Heat Waves, kills my Tails. I break the Sash and Whims, I put Ninetales in range of E-Speed, which is really good. From there, I'm able to bring Goldengo, and I can E-Speed the Ninetales and set Nasty Plot. E-Speed kills Tails as Whims clicks Encore. I think he was trying to lock me into Rock Slide just in case I was trying to do this in play, but E-Speed goes before Encore because of the max prio. So that was really nice to set up pretty free. And from there, I swap out to Rilla on my Arcanine as he brings in Blood Moon, and he Blood Moons my Rilla slot. And I Terra Water to cover Earth Power. I click Make It Rain, and I just board wipe, and I'm able to win from there. This was a really risky call because I could have protected that turn, but if I protect and he Terra Normal Blood Moons my right slot, I lose. But if I Terra Water on that turn, he Blood Moons my Goldango, I also lose. So it was a true 50-50. And when you're facing Blood Moon and Tailwind, it kind of comes down to those really big calls, right? And I got that big call right. Game 2, he leads Whim's Blood Moon, and I do the same 4. He also has the same 2 in the back of Ninetales and Dragonite. And I just do the same kind of play, except this time I click Icy Wind Flare Blitz into the Whims, and he protects and he Terra Normal Hyper Voices. Hyper Voice breaks Tail Sash, which is really important for him. It also covers, well, I mean, he doesn't need to power the Arc immediately because he wants to break Sash and Tails, was my thought process. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't Terra the Arc, I didn't protect. It's hard to protect because he's Encore. Main logic. So I make the Ursa a little bit low of Icy, just like what, 20 something percent, 25 maybe after Life Orb, right? And then Whim swaps out to believe, or he said Tail. I think he says Tail on that turn. I'm able to get up another Icy, and he loses the Whims, but he swaps out into Tails, I think, on the Dragonite, and it kind of comes down to some funky turns. But I still have Real Dingo in the back, and I'm able to set up another paw and set up. I beat the Dragonite down. And then the Tails is also, it's actually kind of scary. The end game is Arcanine and Goldengo versus Tails and Ursa. At this point, I did stall a Tailwind, so that did not matter. It just came down to if E-Speed killed the Ninetales, and it did. And that was really it. The scariest part of this matchup was really just dealing with the Tailwind turns, because it's hard to stall a Tailwind with Encore and Blood Moon pressure. was able to kind of navigate it well with a combination of my like Icy Wind plus Rock Slide was really strong. I think it could have been a different game if you got the Earth Power turn correct on the Ursa, on the Arcanine, or I believe that's actually a turn where also like I didn't tear my Goldango in front of Ursa as well. I was able to also not get Earth Powered. Just making calls like that is how you can outplay these tail matchups, and that's exactly what happened. But yeah, that was that was it for top 16, and yeah, this was on stream and a pretty close set for the most part. Like, well, close in a way was kind of funny. It's like a very snowball game. Whoever kind of gets the turn one right really snowballs the game. Like game one, I went very smoothly with Sneasel Goldengo, and I have Rillaboom Tails in the back. And he did the same for my opponent did in Swiss, where he had Instant Sinistcha and Peliursa. Covered that for that very well with just Dire Call Shadow Ball, prevent Trick Room. And the general logic is even if he tears the Sinistcha, it means he doesn't have Terra and Ursa, and I have Rillaboom in the back for Fake Out Pressure. So that was the general concept. And that worked out really well my game one. That was my general game plan. So I knew he would do that. Game two, I still did the same team because I think it covers for basically all his options, right? Except he kind of reveals a little bit of mix-up, right? He leads Basket Legion. And this makes me second guess myself. And this is actually a really good play by him because I second guess myself, I make I guess a bad play or a bad read. And this is over indexing on him on hard swapping Sinnoh to the Pelipper and wave crashing my Goldengo. So I click protect and I swap to Rilla, but he just flip turns and gets an Ursa and sets a Trick Room. And it's the same board that I mentioned. If they get a Trick Room with Ursa and they connect Matcha Gotcha on Goldengo, I always just lose. And that's exactly what happened. So you can see how that turn one is so volatile. Because like I was covering for one play, but it didn't cover for the play he lost to for the game one. If I just Dire Claw Shadow Ball again, I always win that game two, and I probably just win the set, right? But he just completely calls me out. Like I think that was generally a good play on his part. He just read me, and he got the read right, and I was like, okay, well, I got cooked, right? And in game three, that's exactly what happened. I got cooked again. I lead awful. I over-index on that exact lead he beat me with game two, the Basket Legion Sinistcha, because it did me so well that game two for him. I surely he would run back again because if I do Sneasler, Goldengo again, surely if he does Instant Sinistcha again, I would always beat it. I 100% believe I would always beat that lead, and he just ran it back from game one. I lead Rillaboom Goldengo, which is significantly worse because my Rillaboom gets intimidated. I get seed up, but even get Nasty Plot, if Ursa comes in, I still can't outdamage it, and Trick Room will be up. That's the main issue. So my only win con from here is the Drum Beating Shadow Ball to Sinistcha to kill it. He swaps an instant to Ursa, sets up Trick Room, tries to. Drum Beating Shadow Ball, it lives on 14%, 14 HP. And I just lose the game from there. So I think I really just I just have to fixate so much on that Basket Legion. I over respected it. I should have went my gut play. The original plan was always Sneasel Goldengo. If I did it again, I just made the plays I was confident in. I could have won it. I was so close. But he got me. He got me good. And I think that it's just kind of how the format plays sometimes. There's a lot of 50-50s, and he played it better than I did. And I can't really complain a whole lot. I think it was a good set. And although it didn't look like a good set, it was like a 4-0 into a 0-4-0-4. Kind of funny, right? But that's just how that matchup plays. It's a really volatile matchup. And I can tell you for certain because I've lost this matchup so many times in practice. I beat it once in Swiss, and losing in top cut, well, I guess it was bound to happen, right? Due to my record with team before. So, it sucks to have this run end here because it generally felt like a dream run. This is my third top cut with this team, back-to-back top cut regionals with this team, and yeah, no, it was a really great experience using this, and I think that I was definitely carrying the team maybe more than usual. But like I just know my matchups so well, and today we went over all the matchups I went over. Like I think that like the matchups I pulled at the regional are matchups you should expect to see. Like I faced a lot of Psyspam, I faced a lot of Rain, I faced a lot of King Gambit Balance. Just the stuff you expect to see, right? I faced, and I think with a team like this, like I mentioned earlier, you have Rillaboom, you have Tails, you have Goldengo set up, you have room to outplay and beat almost any team if you're playing your best. And I think I was almost playing my exact best this weekend, and I was so close, so close. But I'll take the top 8 and top 4. It was a great time, and I hope that this video was helpful and that the matchup notes and the run review answered any of your questions related to the team. Didn't go over every single matchup, but I think I went over most. The runs I had for Pittsburgh and Monterrey covered a lot of the metagame, in my opinion. And I think these are teams you can expect to see in your future regionals. if you guys want any extra help regarding the team, I do coaching on it. I've coached a few people on the team already for a few day twos on this, and I have a whole matchup sheets. If you have any more questions with that, I'll share replays and we can lab up matches together. I have pages and pages of that if you're interested on a more in-depth review with tournament prep related to my Pittsburgh, my Monterrey, and my Toronto team here. But yeah, that is it with the team. Thank you all for watching. Shout outs to my team building partners for all the help. Shout outs to George Champ for the original concept of the team. But yeah, I do think that this is generally, I wouldn't say it's like one of the best teams in the format. It's like one of those teams that like that's the main reason why I didn't put it in my top 10 Reg H teams. Like I know some people commented that. Like it's generally a good team, but you have to be playing really well. You need to know your game plans. You have the tools to win, but you just got to be locked in. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, thank y'all for watching. I'll catch you all later. Goodbye.